Hello, chat. How we doing? How we all doing? Hello, Erica. Hello, Kairu. Hello, Sweet Myths Music. How you doing? Hello, Catalina Gearbox. Hello, Neuron. Hello, Marshall Ghetto. I'll open up the YouTube chat so we can take a look at that as well. How we all doing, folks? Boop. Boop. There we go. We've booped and bopped our way to have all the chats on screen. There we go. Hey, hey, hey. A rare weekend stream from me. You guys are lucky. So, for this stream, we're just going over the Progressive Victory panel with Vosh and Destiny and Emma Vigland. And I'll be editing content, so the audio might be disturbed. It's not going to be the ideal way to view the Progressive Victory stream. So you should probably go watch it on Keffel's Live if you just don't like if you just want to watch that. But I'll be adding commentary and we'll also be editing content. Hey, Chelsea Norton. And as you can tell, I did not get done up for stream. That's because it's just a chill day. I'm just here in my dinosaur t-shirt.
It essentially any city in Europe and just fall to my knees. Really, though, I quite like it here. I hope the people who traveled here are having a good time as well. I think we're waiting for one more, so in the meantime, we're ripping.
Yeah. What's the best place to get seafood around here? Somebody local, just shout it out. Say it again.
Uzo Bay
Okay.
and Chop Tank.
Wait, hey Somniostatic, what's the drama? Wait, I need to know what the drama is before I can save you from it. Let's see. We gotta find last broadcast. Yeah, exactly. There are so many dramas right now.
Which is
The knives are
Oh,
out.
nice. Okay, cool. Thanks. I went to that place on the water one time where you crack it with a mallet and you throw the shells right in the water. Is that a place? That's a whole thing? Oh, there are a bunch of places that do that. Okay, gotcha.
That sounds cool. I don't like seafood much, but...
Vosh be like, I don't like seafood that much, but I do love throwing random shit in the water. How's this gone? Like, we literally just started Somniostatic.
Here, Vosh.
Hey. As long as we're waiting, I'll just say, speaking to my low standards, seeing folks walking around at all, just physically walking down the sidewalk, again, completely alien to me. When I was growing up, there was one, okay, show of hands, who here's lived in LA? Okay, I'm sorry. Well, you know then.
God damn, Vosh just has genuinely amazing charisma. Dude's out here like revving up the crowd, being bouncy and shit. I couldn't do that.
There's this place called 3rd Street Promenade in LA. Yeah.
Oh god, Gayfesh, I want to see the spoilers, but also I don't. Let's see.
And when I was a kid, it was magical. They had hedges trimmed into dinosaurs, toy stores and Borders bookstores before bookstores went extinct, and the dinosaurs, the whole thing. And I went there recently while visiting my folks. Dead. Half the shops closed. I mean, boarded, proper. And this is one of the, commercial centers of the city. And not to sound preachy or anything, but I think stuff like this is really indicative of poor city planning. I mean, cities like LA are so big, they're practically like micro countries. And then you go in there and half of the place is like dead waste, and the other half is exorbitantly expensive to live in. And then I go over to Baltimore and I see people walking around like they used to in 3rd Street Promenade, and I get happy. So low standards means I'm easy to please. And it also helps right outside the convention center too. That probably.
Oh god, Gayfesh, I couldn't help myself. I clicked on the spoiler. Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Did no one? God damn it, dude. As far as an event goes for building like a political coalition, that's maybe one of the worst moves. It's maybe one of the worst moves. If that's your goal. Chelsea Norton, I'm glad you and your good friend enjoy watching my streams. Hope everything's going all right for you over in the UK. Can't escape it. We really can't. Okay, well, thank you. I'm gonna prep my you know, all hands on deck, I guess, for this one.
Raises the walkabout a bit. I'm sorry? Oh God, DC was beautiful. I know there's an intercity rivalry, so I'm not trying to spark anything, but showing preference. I actually love all cities equally, but yeah, no, DC was really nice. I mean,
but if we're talking about the pantheon of walkable cities, you're missing the biggest one. It's freaking New York, baby.
Now look what you did. Now, well, I ain't been to New York, so I can't say.
All right, well, soon.
Okay, I genuinely do. I genuinely want to know to what degree Vosh says like y'all in like a natural way, because it always feels like it's coming. It always feels like he's putting on an affect, and that always tickles me a little bit.
Sure. Good. Are we waiting for someone?
So I think that we're going to get started, and yes. So first thing I want to address is that this panel was organized by Progressive Victory and Brianna Wu, and Brianna has had COVID and got sicker again this morning, and she tested positive. So she has been incredible in leading the construction of this and a lot of the events that have happened this week leading up to this point, which may come up in this conversation, and so we're here to carry this on, this panel, but she's greatly missed. My name is Sam. I'm the project director of Progressive Victory, which
I can firsthand say, by the way, Sam is good beans. Sam is a genuinely good dude.
Brianna and I have been working together on setting this up, and we're just really excited to bring together a bunch of the content creators who've been some of the most prominent voices on the left, the liberal left axis in the progressive content space, and have been coming together this week to meet with a lot of people in DC.
Oh yeah, he has creds, and he's basically been the guy championing like this Progressive Victory push into like online media, and I've personally worked with Sam, and like he's genuinely a good dude, and I like and respect him a great deal.
And the Baltimore area, and are coming now to this panel to talk about how we can come together.
Also, he is hot.
To make an impact in politics, especially in the 2024 election. So I guess I'd love to just have you all go down the line and introduce yourselves and what type of content you usually produce.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma Vigeland. I'm the co-host of The Majority Report. We're a daily news show. We cover politics live every weekday at 12 Eastern. I co-host it with the legend that is Sam Seder. He's pretty great, and I'm biased, but I think we're the best daily political talk show out there, just in terms of substance. When you're trying to look at things from the left, having guests on, it's sometimes a little boring, a little bit dry, but I think that wonky stuff is.
So he's the person who would call in sometimes and go over stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think he's been on Vosh's stream a few times. He might have been on my stream one time. But I worked with him extensively, like behind the scenes for on stuff like this, or organizing in Wisconsin, or organizing in Pennsylvania and stuff. He's genuinely good eggs.
It's really important. The details are important, and yeah, if you haven't watched, I'd encourage everybody to check it out. The Majority Report.
Also, I'm gonna be editing audio. I came across this story today. I'm gonna be editing audio and the video stuff off screen, so if I pause and you start hearing my voice, you're not going crazy. Just want to say, so anyway. I thought Not So Erudite was sitting for Brianna Wu. I have no idea what's happening.
Forgive my unfamiliarity with microphones. I'm Vosh, and I go by Vosh, and I'm on the channel called Botch, so I keep
doing better. She's unstable. Thank you so much for the raid. Multiple times. Ravana, thank you so much. Multiple times. Multiple occasions. He kept getting into it after it tried to kill him multiple times. Yeah, I can upload this as like a short. Nice.
keep it nice and simple. And I talk politics, and I talk a lot of cultural and social issues too. I think they're very intertwined, and I think that what we've seen increasingly in the past few years, especially now more than ever, is that politics is a social issue in the sense that people's politics are derivative of the intimate personal problems they face in their day-to-day lives. So touching on those is incredibly helpful when it comes to reaching out to them and trying to convince them of a different perspective, and ignoring them is death knell. So that's what I try to focus on.
My name is. Oh, hello. Yeah. My name is Stephen Bunnell. My YouTube channel is called Destiny. A name that I picked up from my days of being a professional StarCraft 2 player that's kind of stuck around since then. I cover the news from kind of like a center-left to far-left perspective, depending on who you are, with a big focus on critical thought and scholarly analysis. I try to read a little bit past the headlines. We try to do a lot of research. Rather than reading about a case, we'll read the actual indictments. Rather than reading about a Supreme Court decision, we'll try to read, the actual opinions from the judges. And I try to encourage people to hear people from different areas of the political spectrum without instantly assuming that they're evil or out to get them. And I try to encourage everybody to be reflective.
Okay, I do really appreciate Keffel's chat. Oh, hey, Irk, I see you in Keffel's chat. I do really appreciate people roasting Destiny. Research, scholarly analysis, far left. We roast Destiny as a little treat.
Of their own beliefs so that they don't come at these political conversations with too much unneeded aggression.
2 years. That's and that in the middle of the strike.
Just to start the conversation, what is it that you think there's like a lot of wedges that are being driven?
Okay, before we get into this one, I need to find the start point for the new segment. Oh god, we need. Hey! 23 months. Abs, everybody. So, as you all may or may not know.
Donation.
Aw, Kyrie, thank you for the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. That's very, very kind of you on this chill, relaxing stream day. Let's go! The writers you all may or may not know. So, as you all absolutely 0% chance
is that half will
fuck man for the contracts that they signed.
I think is very, very important that in Detroit.
East Biden.
Driven right now, on the left, and what you think started that off and why it continues today.
Well, I think that honestly, division on the left is not necessarily the worst thing sometimes. Like, people ask that question a lot, and I think it's just inherent to being on the left. Part of it's having principles. So the reason that the right is able to coalesce in ways that the left is not is, one, because they are also aligned behind capital in ways that the left is not. And it's pretty easy to regress to the mean for them and essentially just serve capitalism, and it's fine being nationalists or racist as long as you are protecting the power structure and the hierarchies that exist. When it comes to the left, there is infighting because a lot of people have principles and they don't want to stand aside alongside certain things that are deemed unacceptable. Now, there are times when it goes too far, right? 100%. But I think that the fact that there's an adversarial relationship within the left adversarial is not the right word, but I think the fact that there are these open discussions and debates that's actually a strength, and it means that we're thinking critically about issues.
Hey, Dark Canuck.
And I think that that's indicative of, you know, kind of what we're trying to achieve today as well.
And it's worth noting, of course, that leftist infighting is left tradition. It's been happening for as long as the left has existed. It's seemingly unavoidable. It's tragic, but, you know, it's like gravity. It just pulls us down, and there's only so much we can do about it. I think the key is understanding that through all the disagreement and fighting and personal bickeries, there are things we can focus on.
Shared
to
objectives.
Productively move forward.
Yay!
You know, the key here is that it's a political space, not a social space. Disliking people in a social sense, thinking they are rude or boorish or even have some bad opinions, doesn't prevent you from working with them on issues of critical import. I think even like AOC at a national level has discussed efforts to work with Republican congressmen towards specific policy. And, you know, they disagree on 99% of things, but if they work on the 1%, then, you know, that's something. I only hope for a future in the online left where there's a little bit more constructivity behind all of it, because I feel like we're a bit lacking in that regard.
And let me just add one thing, too. Like, the online left is not representative of the left, right? Like,
true. Good point, Emma. We are a tiny fragment of politically aware folks. That, sure, he's guilty, but what is that a good reason to prosecute him? Yeah, Jabek, like, thing from this show. Let's see. Here, I'll just show you what I'm doing. Anyway, he does.
People who like him, they just...
He said Carrot Top should run for president, right? Probably. Level of, like, political analysis to expect from Bill Maher. People really didn't like that Bill Maher was... So basically you couldn't find celebrities willing... Don't do it. Do not be a scab. Definitely do not scab. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, I'll end that. Yeah. Remember the writers strike scabs. There we go.
Like, we are, there's a tendency to overinflate our
Do
importance.
not be
We are
a
not that
scab.
important. We're just not. I'm here to communicate issues. I don't feel that we should think of ourselves that way, honestly. Like, I'm here to communicate issues. I want to bring people on my platform that are actually doing the work, that are on the ground, that are advocates. That's the role that I see in this political space. And so, yeah, there's infighting with media personalities, but that's mostly about branding and stuff like that. What matters really are the people that are doing the work and organizing and working together. And I just think it's important to make that distinction between influencers and speakers and people who have microphones versus people who maybe don't get the attention that they deserve.
I wish I brought a notebook with me because I think I disagree with almost every single thing that was just said.
Cool. So glad you came to this panel. God damn it. God damn it, you piece of shit.
I think that infighting happens on the left and the right. I think it's silly to say that infighting is something that only happens on the left or is exclusive to the left. I mean, just a while ago, we saw a huge split with Steven Crowder fighting with the Daily Wire, for instance. We see huge schisms in the Republican Party with them being unsure of how they're going to proceed when 70 to 80% of the party is like ride or die for Donald Trump, who stands in stark contrast to the actual Republican establishment. The idea that, I mean, we see even Donald Trump, the guy who, you know, is the leader of the Republican Party, literally fights with every single other person in the Republican Party and his own cabinet and his own attorney generals and every other part of his thing. So I don't think infighting is unique to any side. I agree that fighting and debate is good and having conversations is good, but I find that on the left, that's not what happens. And these fights don't originate out of principle, and they don't they don't conduct themselves in a way that is productive. Instead, what they end up being is like an endless place to serve your own ego and to strawman, attack, cancel, destroy people that you end up disagreeing with. So while it would be really great if it did exist on the left where we could have conversations and disagreements, what actually happens is there is a party line that you kind of have to toe right now on the left if you're a progressive. And if you deviate in any way, size, shape, or form, you're essentially Hitler 2.0. And I don't think there's anything productive there. I don't think anything good happens there. And then on the end, the last point.
Isn't he the person who's like acted like Vosh is literally the dumbest motherfucker on earth for like the last, I don't know, 3 years? like if anyone's doing the Hitler 2.0 thing, it's Destiny. Destiny does that to like literally everyone who like mildly critiques him.
That Emma brought up, as much as
he literally said Vosh should have died from his keloids. Cool.
I like to say, like 10 years ago, Twitter is not real life. I just sat across from Ro Khanna, who said that he didn't even have AOC's number, and they were conducting official business on Twitter DMs. So it seems like every day Twitter is becoming more and more like real life, where a lot of the policy, Donald Trump was literally announcing policy, making decisions from Twitter. We've got politicians like Bernie Sanders having to disavow his fan base because of their behavior on Twitter. And we've got a lot of interactions online that are merging more with real life than they ever had before. I don't think it's enough for influencers or entertainers to just throw their hands up and say, well, I just do entertainment. The work on the street is for the people on the street. I think that it is becoming increasingly more likely that people online are having a major influence on stuff that happens on the street or in academia or in other places. And I think we need to be aware of that responsibility, and we need to play into it accordingly.
Oh, God. All right. Finding the next part of this segment here. A young little whippersnapper by the name of Joseph Robinette Biden.
Some remarks by President Biden on the contract negotiations between U.S. automakers and the United Auto.
Who's not? You know who's? Goodness. All right. Now you know who. Now you know who's not. You know who's not scabbing these days?
Auto companies.
It's Joseph Robinette Biden, y'all. These contracts that they're.
I'm very frustrated. We understand the world is.
So you're. I mean, good luck. He's entitled to talk to. Like, her position is probably untenable to the investors of General Motors. The prospects of the company. Pretty not great so far. It's not bad thing that this move is being done, that Trump is going to the auto workers in Detroit, because that's a disturbingly savvy move on Donald Trump's part. But unfortunately, the additional pressures, actually, positions. Sorry, y'all. I need to make sure I'm putting out segments on the YouTube. Just watch this. Yeah, I can see you in the chat, VCC TV. This. Of caring about the workers. Here is a story from More Perfect Union. Workers go through making cars.
In what we are doing, we are physically doing the same job.
Receive explicit instructions from the union indicating otherwise. Which means, like they are right on the verge of going on strike and
significance of that.
So that we have more video content going on. You're watching on Twitch, and I would argue all of them deserve. I know that all the workers on strike are doing a hard job by going on strike. In saying that, this does. He is doing the infighting. Yeah, helps me believe that. Hey, Fellini Fiend. In the world, we got this. Exactly, Fire. Exactly. We have more power than they want us to believe we do. Every capitalist, every billionaire sits in their office day after day, fearing the day when the average working person realizes how much power they have. They're trembling in their boots. Not only talking about the UAW, all the workers striking, all the people protesting around the world. Yeah, 100%. Boom. Okay. Sorry.
I think I actually agree strongly with that last bit. There's a TikTok I saw from a creator called Chris Raygun. It was
exactly
fun. The gist of it was
VCCTV.
essentially he was calling out a number of other YouTubers who he strongly believed had received an email, like him, from a conservative organization offering them money in exchange for them being willing to push certain talking points. He didn't accept it. He feels that a bunch of other folks did. There is a really strong synchronicity there. It feels in a lot of right-leaning spaces where there is this underlying cohesion, you know, and you spoke to it being like the bridge of capital, and I think that capital, if nothing, binds people. If you can pay people,
The money binds those right-wing influencers.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Really obvious.
Money to all the left-leaning influencers.
Oh my god, all the violence happening on this panel right now.
I mean, like, it's not, none of us up here are poor, right? We all make a lot of money up here, right? I think some of the largest podcasts, I know the Majority Report does really good on Patreon, and I've watched your channel does good. Like, it's not like we're sitting up here broke, like we're on the street in rags, like, listen to a fellow leftist. Like, we make a lot of money here, too.
No, but that's the difference.
I don't, though, so if any of you want to throw some subs or donos my way, I would very much appreciate that.
Right? We make
Hey,
money,
Fellini
but the
fiend.
circuits through which we make money incentivize, in many cases, drama and infighting. One of the best ways to get a lot of money or prestige or clout as an influencer is to manufacture drama. That's the case for drama YouTubers, and it's the case for political YouTubers. And there's a critical difference
Hey, boiled
between wealth
peanuts.
acquired through that means and wealth that you receive from a different organization on the condition that you adhere to a certain set of values and not broach certain topics. And I think that that difference, now that's not something we want to replicate, right? I'm not suggesting the solution for the left is to set up like dark money packs and start funding everyone.
But I think it's the same problem. I think the reason why we look at the right and we say, oh, well, they take money from PACs or organizations, so what is the bad thing about that? The bad thing is that you might have an influencer that's not representing their true, honest beliefs, but they're representing the people that are behind them financially. But I think the exact same type of audience capture happens on the left. Every one of us up here has made a decision about what topic to cover or not cover because we know that our audience might respond in a certain way for it. And
I mean, yeah, that's every content creator. Yeah. What? What? I just like, yeah, you cultivate the audience you cultivate, but if you want to, you can cultivate a different audience, bro. Like, is he trying to be smart sounding? He's somehow trying to be pedantic and debate this panel's existence.
And when you literally have paying subscriptions.
Here, yeah, rip. But I will be subs or donos. Finding the start of the next segment. Because I really do have to edit more videos to get up on the YouTube. Right now, we only have stuff going out for the next week.
Yay, it's fixed.
Catalina Gearbox, thank you for the $5 dono.
That
GG, Chris Huggy. Maybe you did get a last one. This is level in. The moment they go after him. Actually, shot. Okay. Now, folks. Okay. Now, folks. Okay. Now, folks.
Subscriptions that are.
I'm not gonna lie, chat. I look pretty good. I look pretty good in this stream. I need to work out before stream more often. I look hot.
Writing on your opinion on like a certain breaking news topic, I don't think it's enough to say like, well, you know, I'm funded by my audience, therefore I don't have to worry about audience capture. When I think all the exact same problems that people that are bought by corporate interests can exist on the right, the exact same thing can happen on the left with audience capture that want to hear a certain political opinion as well.
No, But it is a difference in how that capture takes place, don't you agree? Because if the capture is from your audience, the incentive there is to make the audience happy, whereas the incentive in the case of sort of other money would be to keep your benefactors happy, and they might have a much more structured and specific set of goals. If you're getting funded by a conservative PAC, they don't care about drama. Like, they're not interested in like a video that gets a bunch of views because you trash another conservative. They're trying to toe a line here, you know? So we're not trying to replicate that. But I think that it takes a certain level of discipline in order to get comparable results in terms of...
Oh, look, Vosh understands the assignment. He understands the point of bringing together a bunch of leftist content creators to coordinate online political action. Oh, good. Someone got the assignment. I'm really glad.
Audience engagement and cohesion. And to that extent, a lot of work needs to be done.
So I'm hearing a lot of conversation here about...
Oh, yeah, no, boiled peanuts, a lot of these, I believe that what happened here was Keffels brought her streaming rig, like a portable streaming rig, to VidCon. I don't think this is the official VidCon stream, because I think a lot of these are meant to be, like, put online later with the official equipment, so, like, it's just kind of bullshit, to be honest, but, like, a lot of these convention spaces don't have the best equipment either, so, like, they're mainly set up for the IRL audience. It was Annie officially doing the broadcasting because she has the Rona? Oh, I'm sorry, Keffels has the Rona. That sucks.
How the incentives in the space are lead toward conflict and confrontation, which I think, you know, any observer can see that is an angle, right? So the question, I think, before all of you is, given those incentives, how can there be any kind of cooperation between people who are incentivized to a certain extent by the way that the space works and the platform algorithms themselves to create conflict between one another?
I mean, the answer to that is you find people who are willing to put aside that interest, that monetary interest, to pursue instead, like, you know, ideological goals as opposed to monetary goals, you know? Yeah, COVID's probably going to become like a seasonal thing. Yeah. Definitely go get your flu shots and also go get your COVID shots, okay? I know people have very strong opinions about the flu shot, but, like, genuinely it helps cut down on the amount of people getting flu, so go do it. I had COVID once, and it wasn't too bad for me. It was pretty mild, but it was like a knock me on my ass, like cold/flu. I'm a mad lad, got both at the same time? Hell yeah. COVID doesn't seem fun? It's not. I feel like I got lucky when I got COVID, and it wasn't that bad. A lot of people have it far worse. Over time. And we going over is kind of like this. Trying to find the end of this Taiwan segment that we put out. Like, also, did you guys see, like, the clip that's been going around about Hassan? Hassan talking about rape. Have you guys seen that? Does anyone know the full context of that clip? Because I have no idea where to find it. But it was a real fucking bad look. No? Just real quick. Wait, what? Yeah, it wasn't great. But I don't know the full context of it. Yeah, I found it. And this one, I don't know the full context of it, but this has been doing numbers.
Patrick Henry College is, like, doing one good thing, which is that, like, if you have these fucking millionaire, billionaire, WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is like, in some respects, you know, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like taking these guys and putting them in a pen with one another is ultimately getting them away from the broader society.
Yeah, I like, again, I don't know what the full context of this was, but if I just take that at face value, this is fucking insane, dude. I don't know when this is from. I don't know what the context is, really, but like, dude just said, well, at least they're only raping rich women, which is fucking crazy. Yeah, Fellini Fiend. That's why I want to know what the full context is, even if somebody just has like a 5-minute clip of what's around this, so I can like, is he like riffing? Is this a joke that just like absolutely failed, or is he being serious? You know? But like, fuck, dude. Yeah, exactly, Fellini Fiend. Like 2 minutes before, 2 minutes after. If someone can find what stream this is from, I'll take it, cause like I'm willing to give charitability. Like maybe this is like he was trying to do like a comedy roast type thing and it went horribly wrong. But it's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad, and it makes me incredibly angry. Yeah, Sweet Myths Music. There was also that crazy person who called in to debate Vosh and like wound up saying that it's okay to like rape cops, which is also fucking crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Bo Randy, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, look, I don't know why, I don't know what's up with people trying to like justify it, man. Big yikes from me, dog. Anyway, I hope people don't mind that I'm uploading multiple VODs soon of, well, we already uploaded one of Hassan for some reason being incredibly pro-China regarding Taiwan on its own, but we're going to be doing another one where he also talks about Taiwan. So look out for that on the YouTube soon.
I think that's certainly a good point. I mean, debates and things like that.
Oops, sorry. Aha. What'd you guys talk about today? You gave me 30 minutes with Ethan Klein. I think I could make him a socialist. Give me 30 minutes on the Hee Hee podcast.
Sorry, last one tonight.
Thank you so much, Kyrie, for the gifted tier 1 sub to Gabby Magpie. Let's see. I could make him a socialist. Okay. Hassan can't be honest to Ethan Klein about Taiwan. There we go. Gay Fashion Riverboat Jack doing the real work. Well, I mean, the real work is the stream for me. Like, I don't get paid. I don't really get paid for the YouTube work yet. Does anyone know who this person is? I do not know who Ferocious Sam the Ferocious is. I'm sorry. The Hee Hee podcast. Look, I only recently learned it's just the H3H3, but why would you use the 3? It looks like a he. It looks like hee hee. Like a little scampy podcast, you know?
that there's always an audience for that, right? And
same Somniostatic.
I don't
but
know.
People told me
if you can...
people told me I was saying it wrong by calling it the Hee Hee podcast. They told me I was doing it wrong.
Get around that incentive except to just not engage in it in the same way. But debate and like mockery of certain people, I think, is justified. You know,
Yes, like Dave Rubin. Mocking Dave Rubin is always justified.
Enjoy, and I think it's actually worthwhile mocking Steven Crowder, mocking Ben Shapiro, mocking Matt Walsh, Tim Pool. These people are worthy of derision. And it's important, I think, when an impressionable, like 15-year-old turns on their computer and Googles and maybe gets into some Andrew Tate or Tim Pool wormhole, that then the next video up on their algorithm is potentially me and Sam saying this guy's a loser, like, and this is why. And we're gonna getting a call. We are going to make evidentiary claims as to why that is the case, because like there are a lot of people who are feeling alienated, who want connection and seek it through the internet, and they get sucked into situations where they start to go down alt-right pipelines and things like that. So I think it's less about the undercutting the debate element, and more just directing it at the people who are doing the most harm in society.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't think anybody would have as much of a problem. I mean, some people will still argue over optics or whatever, but if all of the vitriol and ire were aimed at people like Steven Crowder or Tim Pool, I mean, I think people would complain probably a lot less, because I think a lot of people on the left feel that, rightfully so, a lot of these guys deserve it. And a lot of those guys throw it at people at the left all the time, too.
Yeah. Trying to find the next segment, sorry. Yeah, Sweet Myths. I watched Gayfesh's Brianna Wu video. It was really good. Is that like, oh, to be a man you need to fuck bitches, and if you aren't fucking bitches, like, you're basically dead. Shame I got from family and later friends in college. There's a wide blackmail scheme going on by someone in the industry I worked in. Clip it. Oh, come on. Only recently got into like perfume, and what the hell? You don't have to fuck bitches, chat, but you can fuck me if you want. No, I was critiquing toxic masculinity. It wasn't an endorsement. I thought we were gonna get through a Donald Trump interview.
My earliest memories.
Where I was early on in my transition. Came across as this come at a great cost to stopped and looked at me and was like, you look really good in that jacket. And I was like, to your friends, dudes. True. You know, the people close to you, that you love them when Trying to decide if I should clip this 30-minute long segment. To like murder us or just on a whim turn our life into a living hell, you know? Like, choosing to be myself was the best on her for like open for 9 months. Yeah, no kidding, vintage computing. Men benefit from patriarchy, but patriarchy also like completely destroys men. You know, the end result is just black pill. You never know in life. You might not ever see them again. And interesting way, like that's so cool. You know, being able to compliment someone like that versus like talking about how good their legs look or like stopped and looked at me and was like, that's a we got Russell Brand, we got okay, certifiably tastes good. Just want to see like where's it at? Roughly suppressed by the San Francisco options here.
And I thought everything was.
Do you guys want to just hear like the craziest couple of options here? Do you guys want to just hear like the craziest shit? I came across this TikTok, and I think it perfectly encapsulates why the kind of the dynamic that can happen with relationships and why women, as a general rule of thumb, can tend to be pretty nervous about meeting men, as a general rule of thumb. It also makes a pretty good case for gun ownership. If you are strap yourselves in.
And I thought everything was.
All right, cool. We finished one stream.
You know, it's hard to be nice to conservatives when, you know, their largest TikTok accounts are obsessing over outing every single LGBT teacher as a groomer, right? I'm super empathetic towards bashing conservatives when they need it. I think the issue comes whenever there are these slight divides on the left where these people, instead of being able to engage in critical conversation and defend our ideas in the ways that would, you know, be best to defend them, we end up just outing them and saying, we're not going to have these conversations anymore. We're not going to, we're above debating, you know, trans women in sports, or we're above debating whether or not all of white supremacy, you know, ruins all of society. We're above debating Roe v. Wade or any type.
I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily wrong to just be like, I don't want to debate that. You know? I think he has a valid point where like some people should be able to step up and do that, sure. But like as a trans person, do I want to debate whether or not I should be criminalized? No, I don't. Frankly.
Of abortion or affirmative action. I think not only do we lose the ability to strengthen the arguments on these sides when we have to argue with people in the middle or people on the right, which normal people do have to contend with because we all live together, like it or not. We also lose the ability to kind of strengthen our own positions and have our own path forward where we're more research-backed, we're more academically focused, we're being more honest with our arguments, because instead of actually testing the metal of any of our arguments and fortifying them and reinforcing them, we end up just outing somebody for simple disagreements. And I think we're seeing that that has had like drastically horrible real-world impacts. I think of the University of Washington saying that they're not going to walk back a positive headline on a trans study because they think it'll look bad. Or I think of like all of the fighting that the left does, not to call out any particular people, but like with Jesse Singal, who writes a lot of articles about trans-related issues. Rather than people being able to engage with any of these issues honestly, with good arguments and to, you know, reinforce our arguments or attack the other side, it just instantly becomes an outing of whatever, you know, transphobic, ism, whatever you.
Yeah, so for a little bit of background, remember, chat, when we covered Jesse Singal calling into the Majority Report and Emma and Sam basically just shat on him for like 30 minutes and it was really cathartic? He's essentially throwing shade on Emma right here for not being able to have a calm and reasoned discussion with Jesse Singal. Again, a man who has been called out numerous times for his transphobia and his dishonest coverage of trans issues. I haven't seen that. Well, to be honest, I don't think they ever put out a segment of them doing it, but it's there in the VOD, and be posting my coverage of it soon on YouTube. But yeah, he's a piece of shit. 100% Somniostatic. He's the kind of guy who is dishonest in a slightly more complicated way than most people are, where his approach is like, essentially, if you had a white nationalist outlet, right? A white nationalist newspaper. You can conceive, right, of a white nationalist newspaper that only ever reports the truth, right? Like, every word that is reported in this newspaper could be the truth, like unambiguously. But because it's a white nationalist newspaper, all of the stories of like about crime and such, all of them are about black people. Now, all of those stories might be informationally accurate, but the perception that it gives readers would be incredibly skewed because it only covers the crimes black people do. You know? So it doesn't matter if like all of the information is correct, if the impression it is designed to give is that this is a huge issue, right? You can write informationally correct articles about detransitioners, but if people walk away from those articles with the impression that detransition is a colossal and pervasive problem in trans healthcare, that's already intellectually dishonest, right? Because the intent over, piece of work after piece of work after piece of work isn't clear from just one isolated piece of it. It's only clear when you take it in totality. And that's what Jesse Singal does. He puts out, oh, trans healthcare is dangerous, trans healthcare is dangerous, detransition story, detransition story, detransition story. And like, again, we don't even have to give him the full credit of the analogy I made earlier, because some of the stuff that he writes is dishonest or comes from extraordinarily suspect sources. But he will claim, oh, well, that was just a mistake. That was just a mistake. But everything else I've written is accurate. And it's like, well, even if we give you the benefit of the doubt that that's true, it's still causing people to have very misinformed opinions based on your reporting, Yeah, exactly, Somniostatic. His original breakthrough article was him lying about trans people.
You can call the other person, and then you just kind of move on and forget about it.
But Singal is transphobic, and the thing is
based, Emma. Based! She understood she was being called out, and you know what? Props to her for just being like, yeah, nah, he's a transphobic piece of shit, though. Immediately following it up. I love Emma so goddamn much.
Is that he can have liberal and progressive opinions on other things, but his opinions are transphobic. So you can make claims about individual opinions, and no one's saying like you're never allowed to vote Democrat again, Jesse. You're out of the club. But that those opinions and an over focus on the desister myth or things like that is a transphobic impulse. I think that it just makes people principled and clear-eyed.
So looking at somebody like Singal.
Why are you talking about Jesse Singal on a panel about bringing the left together for political organizing? What the fuck?
Would we say that that's like a transphobic person? Somebody that clearly aligns with most left-leaning things, is clearly in favor of most forms of trans therapy. Is it because he takes a critical look at some research that we just write him off as transphobic?
He doesn't support most medical intervention for trans people. Like, what? This is just a dishonest portrayal of Jesse Singal's positions. Like, Jesse Singal has an entire page dedicated to him on from GLAAD, like the gay rights network, about how he's intellectually dishonest and transphobic. Do you know how hard you have to work to get GLAAD to call you out on anything?
Well, I don't think that I don't know. I don't think that the analysis of the desister myth from his end is in good faith. But I mean, I'm not here to debate Jesse Singal. He's like a
myth.
the fact that there's this overwhelming number of trans people who are desisting and that doctors are pushing this onto people, I think that what you cover is just as important and what you choose to focus on is just as important as what you say, and he overemphasizes these case-by-case claims that undercut the solidarity that we should have with trans people generally.
So I can agree that it's important to focus on what you decide to cover. I think that can be as important as how you cover something. But I mean, at this point, Jesse's beat is essentially writing about trans-related issues. I find it unfortunate that on the left we've decided that if you take a critical look at trans stuff, which is for better or for worse been like the national discourse for the last 2 years because Republicans have no other platform, that we're not allowed to have somebody that focuses on, the reality that there are some people that desist.
That's not a problem. The problem is his writing is then used to justify banning, trans people from accessing medical care. That's the problem. The problem is not that people talk about the assistance, because guess what? Even people who are supportive of trans medical interventions, supportive of trans healthcare, and trans people in general recognize that some people will desist because no medical intervention is 100% effective. But pretending, again, this is again like saying, well, people having deadly allergic reactions to aspirin, we really, really need to focus on that. We really need to focus on that. Because everyone needs to know how dangerous aspirin is. When, again, 99.999% of people aren't going to have a deadly reaction to aspirin.
There are some people that get on these medications that maybe don't need to be. Instead of even being able to look at that, we say that type of focus is inappropriate. But if you want to talk about police killing unarmed black men, regardless of what the numbers there, we can have a hyper fixation on that, such to the point that we even cover these stories in dramatically incorrect ways that leads to additional rioting or other downstream bad consequences.
The coverage is commensurate with the fact that black people are much more likely to be killed or abused by police, and that is why there is that emphasis. Trans people, 90% of kids, there's a study in pediatrics, 90% of kids after 5 years who socially transition continue with gender-affirming care. The very small amount who return to their birth gender or whatever that they were assigned at birth, that's something like 3-ish%, and there's no real surgery involved there. That's usually kids under the age of 10 before hormone therapy has even started. So
God, I love that she's able to pull all of that out of her ass when none of this was prepped. She was not prepping herself based on this stuff. Fellini Fiend, thank you for getting a sub over on Twitch. And true, last chance to subscribe on Twitch for a reduced amount. Go for it if you feel inclined.
Coverage of trans issues is proportionate to the amount of kids that are actually transitioning and happy with their transition. For me, I think that that's my responsibility as opposed to focusing on edge cases, because I'm not a journalist in the same way that somebody writing for the Washington Post or the New York Times is. I'm somebody that is...
Is Vaughan on the liberal panel? Who's Vaughan? I don't know who that is. I'm sorry, Rory. Vaughan sounds like a pretty cool, I don't know, Warhammer 40k character, though. Vaughan! The Clobberer. This one, thank you for subscribing over on Twitch. Mommy published another video. I did. You all should subscribe to the YouTube. Vosh refers to his gun, so he doesn't support second Art 2 reform? What? Vaughan bad. I'm pretty sure Vosh supports gun control measures. I just don't think he supports destroying all guns. Also, plenty of leftists have guns. That doesn't mean they're not leftists. Or that they oppose gun control.
Is covering what I think is important, and its emphasis and the emphasis that I
Oh wait, I was gonna do a thing. My bad. Whoop. Fuckery, and I look forward to this snippet of interview being played in the courtroom because it's going to be played in
to focus on.
Oh god. What do I think about Biden? I mean, I don't care if your name is Trump for president for like non-troll reasons. That's totally cool. I dislike Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden is exceeding my expectations, but to be honest, that wasn't really hard because they were, through the floor. That being said, he could be doing a damn sight better. So that's my opinion on Joe Biden. I do think it's cool that he went and walked the picket line, though. First president ever to do that. Instead of anything to do with January 6th. I'm guessing the hours if you has been gifting so many subs to folks. I think is like him.
I've just
actually at one point just kind of acknowledged that he's done some fuckery, some political fuckery, and I look forward to this snippet of interview being played in the courtroom because it's going to be played in every single one of his indictments that have anything to do with January 6th. I'm guessing this is going to be played during the trial in Georgia. If it's not, that'd be kind of shocking, honestly. Okay. I'm kind of behind, but I still like to know what's the command for peeping at a person's chat history log. I honestly have no idea what the commands are over in over on riverboat.gg.
Thank you so much for streaming today, Mommy.
Oh, you're so welcome, Kyrie. Thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. Under no pretext. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Someone else can. Oh, stock. There you go. Nice. Stock Jeff. Jeff. All right. Y'all bunch of stalkers. Shadow of Chernobyl.
Including
to where there will
by talking about issues you brought up. You talked about all the people coming across.
Gray in this moment of defeat. For you now. Because I think what we're going to see, covering Trump, the voting is neck and neck. They're stealing it. Why are you guys looking at each other's chat logs? Y'all being sussy. But he does want to look like he does. And we have let's go. You got 30 seconds. Vote. Yeah. So, hey everybody, guess what? Donald Trump. Hey everybody, guess what? So, hey everybody, guess what? Donald Trump decided to do his first mainstream news interview on Meet the Press. And we have the full extended interview now online, which will be pretty interesting, I think. Because I think what we're going to see, based on some of his other maneuvering... There we go. Thank you for... I know that this has been a wonky stream of just, like, weird audio snippets and everything's disjointed, but I am getting a lot done, and I appreciate you being patient.
Is hopefully aligned with the proportionality of the problem.
And I think that's super fair, and I would agree, and I would say the same thing. I don't generally cover a lot of DeSister stuff too. I don't even really like talking to DeSisters, which I think is fair for a variety of reasons.
Right.
But the issue here isn't what you choose to cover. The issue is deriding somebody else as transphobic because they want to cover it. And
again, it would be different if the framing of the issue in the coverage was done in a fair-handed and honest way, and it's not. It deliberately leaves out information and deliberately paints medical intervention as a scary, evil thing that shouldn't be done.
we can say until we're blue in the face that, oh, well, the data points in one direction and like clearly all of these people are completely wrong. But then you look across Europe where they have stopped some of these trans treatments. And then you look at in the United States, there are some stories that come up that are questionable. And people in the United States, especially parents, will look at these stories and they'll go, okay, well, people on the left say that it's all fake. A whole bunch.
Why is the conversation going this way? I genuinely don't understand this.
Bunch of people seem to be disagreeing, and the only people that want to have these conversations are people on the right. On the left, you can't even talk about it because people like you will say, oh, well, those people are transphobic.
So I think we've touched on something really important here, which is the difference between a willingness to critically examine a subject and engage with certain people on said subject. So I firmly believe that no topic should be off the table when it comes to debating or arguing or discussing its potential virtues. I think that that's always valid. You know, I don't see this as much today, but there was a period of time during the prominence of the alt-right where you would, if you had any opinion online for any length of time, you would be thrown without your consent into a debate about race science. It's still to an extent true on Twitter these days, though thankfully it seems less so. Maybe.
Okay, wait. Vosh with the dunks. Did I miss something there? I'm not super familiar with Destiny's content. I've just had small interactions with him over the years, and he sucks. That's just kind of my take on him. Did I miss like a reference? Has Destiny like dabbled in race science? Was that like a jab at Destiny or something? He kind of just compared Destiny to a flat earther. Gotcha. Be right back. I need to get more water. Well, yeah, and I already knew that going in. I deeply dislike Destiny, but I do like leveraging his community of hundreds of thousands of people to potentially get involved in knocking on doors and phone banking for progressive causes. So I do appreciate that. I'll be right back. Boop, boop. All right, I'm back. I'm back, y'all.
Maybe it'll come back in style. I don't know. I think that when it comes to issues like race and criminology, well, I have a background in criminology. You have to
Wait a minute. And also, folks, only bring you the finest quality brain rot. Both people to fight each other. Fight, fight, fight. We're gonna get some more should you vote blue, no matter who. And right now, what I am in the headspace for, you know, I'm not in the headspace for that right now. What I am in the headspace for is more brain rot that, and I apologize in advance. I'm online arguing with transphobes. Generally speaking, you're also going to be like,
and
media ever stop?
We need somebody who's for. You know, I do appreciate Brianna Joy Gray for one particular reason. It's that I never get tired of watching people explain with increasing frustration why you should vote for the lesser of two evils, especially when the opposing option is fascism. Why she sucks? Exactly. I never get tired of people pointing out why she sucks. Yeah. Hey, Shaloon.
to get into it, right? On an academic level, you can't.
Wait. Sorry. Herbie. Conversation is your strong suit. I mean, I feel like
me of on this show.
Get on her show and go hard at her about it. Yeah, I'd like just. First of all, I don't think she would invite me on. I think she'd probably do her due diligence and like look up videos where I'm saying that she's a dumb fuck. Probably wouldn't appreciate that. But like, did you see Elon Musk at the border? Yeah. Yeah, just 100 subscribers, so help us get there if you can. But like, no, her positions have made her a very wealthy individual, you know? I think she'd probably do her due the platform she built with a guy named Virgil Texas. He was a sexual behavior with minors. Disappeared shortly after founding Bad Faith Podcast, which Brianna Joy Gray still hosts. Probably wouldn't appreciate that. But like, yeah, it just seems I don't really have any faith that I could reach her. Yeah, it just seems I'm saying that she's a dumb fuck. Probably wouldn't appreciate that. All right. Do. All right.
Can't ignore it or turn your head from it. Lots of interesting stuff there. Valid conclusions to derive. But sometimes, when the folks who want to talk about it are very obviously and persistently acting in bad faith, the question is, to what extent can you engage? And that's the critical difference. I see lots of folks on the left who just plain don't want to talk about some subjects, and I think that's lazy. You know, I think that if nothing else, they have to be engaged with in the abstract. And on the other hand, of course, there is a massive right-wing grift circuit of people who have been proven wrong 5,000 times on every conceivable issue. Like Ben Shapiro consistently gets owned on the same talking points regarding trans people, but he's been repeating the same ones for 7 years now, unchanging, not reflecting any shift in the national dialogue, because it doesn't matter whether
Is this a public school?
Yes. Out of proportion. That going.
Go hit the follow button. Do it. Go, 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 go. You are correct. Why does it turn my monitor?
That going.
It has both administrators.
And I'm going to.
Let's go.
Renee, these conservatives are from
Like this to be a what?
Hit that follow button. Yeah, look. I need to make sure that the segment about the cute conservatives gets out. Okay. They
Arian.
kid, and you know they don't want to be around you anymore because you misgender them and call them a snowflake, or a straight kid who hitting the follow button over on Twitch, hitting. Well, folks, yeah, how the mighty have fallen. Steven Crowder was like doing a dating show, going to be deeply unhappy, and like
hugs.
Oh, Catalina Gearbox, thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. That is incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much. Their entire worldview is built around propping up a bigoted system that like their parents and grandparents had a hand in building and maintaining, and like they're gonna wind up miserable and alone. They're gonna wonder why their kids don't call them anymore, and it's gonna be because like, well, you had a trans kid, and you know they don't want to be around you anymore because you misgender them and call them a snowflake, or like they're gonna wonder, oh, why does my lesbian daughter not come home anymore? And it's because you keep talking about how like pride is going too far, and like how the gays are degenerate, you know, or and how their marriages should be invalidated, like, or you know, you have a straight. Yeah, sorry, Queen Bee. I'm editing past segments, and like, and you just don't accept it. Like, you're going to be alone. If you are conservative, you are going to be alone in a prison of your own making, or you're going to be with people who absolutely are going to tear you down in accordance with the systems you've both helped prop up. Will end up being a trad wife for Steven Crowder. I heard that Steven Crowder with the systems you've both helped prop up. Boom, nailed it.
Or not, he's been owned on them. So I think that this is actually core. This is critical to the difficulties in inter-left engagement, because the divide between what do we talk about and who do we talk to is really socially important, and it gets a lot of folks worked up.
Well, and I think that the emotion involved here is highly important to examine, right? You are all humans with emotions as you're having these debates, and you're reacting in the moment as you're talking live on camera, which is very unique for the type of content that you produce. And your audiences are also reacting live, right? So when people get involved in this and they start to identify with this, it can sometimes. How does that affect the tenor of the debate? So you can have these discussions, right? But how does the emotions getting involved and the audience is starting to identify with these things start to affect the tenor of how that creates the relationships and affects the relationships between creators?
I'm not sure. I think my content's maybe a little bit different than what you guys do, because I'm not a streamer in the technical sense, but we do have open IMs and open calls on the majority report. Or actually, you have to become a member and then you can IM, but you can call in no matter who you are. At least for me, and I'm still learning.
Honestly, this is something I should do on my show. I should just kind of live with the reality that if I do open call-ins, some random conservative might call in and just scream the N-word or something, but like, that's not my fault at the end of the day. Yeah, I feel like we should do call-ins. Maybe I'll do that as like a recurring segment on like Fridays? I don't know. What do you guys think?
learning, like it has made me a much, I think, more engaged critical thinker having that audience interaction.
Yeah, I think that the emotional tenor is actually really critical because the debates and all the political engagement online by themselves, I think, inspire in your average audience member actually a really negative, like angry, almost nihilism, where they get so disconnected from the modes by which people engage in real political change.
It may have to be moderated before they come on. Yeah, that could be.
That they just watch and.
But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll try it a couple different ways. I need a big jumper too. We all need a big jumper.
Consume a lot of content and get really upset, and that's one of the reasons why I've been so delighted to work with the Progressive Victory people.
Oh, great, love. That's very professional.
Thank you.
First of all, Vosh and Emma just have really great charisma together. I really like it. Second of all, yet again, Vosh is like the only guy who got the assignment going into this. God damn it. Like, hey guys, let's all talk about Progressive Victory and like organizing together and such.
Didn't even plan it. I'll just say. So, literally hundreds of times.
Oh, the audio. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Emails, DMs, whatever, where you have people who, they watch the content.
Can we get 1080p? What? Okay, we're gonna refresh.
That what you cover is just as important.
Oh my God, why? Why is it like this? Leftist audio and video quality. My goodness.
Divide between what do we talk about and who do we talk to is really socially important, and it gets a lot of folks worked up.
Well, and I think that the emotion involved here is highly important to examine, right? You are all humans with emotions as you're having these debates, and you're reacting in the moment as you're talking live on camera, which is very unique for the type of content that you produce. And your audiences are also reacting live, right? So when people get involved in this and they start to identify with this, it can sometimes. How does that affect the tenor of the debate? So you can have these discussions, right? But how does the emotions getting involved and the audience is starting to identify with these things start to affect the tenor of how that creates the relationships and affects the relationships between creators?
I'm not sure. I think my content's maybe a little bit different than what you guys do because I'm not a streamer in the technical sense, but we do have open IMs and open calls on the majority report. Or actually, you have to become a member and then you can IM, but you can call in no matter who you are. At least for me, and I'm still learning, like it has made me a much, I think, more engaged critical thinker having that audience interaction.
Yeah, I think that the emotional tenor is actually really critical because the debates and all the political engagement online by themselves, I think, inspire in your average audience member actually a really negative, like angry, almost nihilism, where they get so disconnected from the modes by which people engage in real political change that they just watch and consume a lot of content and get really upset. And that's one of the reasons why I've been so delighted to work with the Progressive Victory people.
Oh, great, love. That's very professional.
Thank you. Didn't even plan it. I'll just say. So, literally hundreds of times in emails, DMs, whatever, where you have people who, they watch the content, they like and they agree, but who could help themselves from feeling a little bit of despair considering the state of the world today? There's a lot to worry about, like legitimately, even for people with a lot of self-control. And I think a lot of that is amplified by the fact that they consume all this content and then they go to sleep. They have dinner, there's no outlet for it. You go and you canvass or do phone banking. And I think that for a lot of these folks, they feel a million times better because now they are part of a constructive solution. In fact, not just a solution, but in many cases, the solution, workable results are, if you really turn an election. If you work for something good, that's something you can point to on your deathbed. I mean, you keep that with you forever. That's a positivity that can't be eclipsed by any specific online debate or bad news article or whatever else. So channeling that, trying to push people towards that, hey, in addition to all this content, touch grass, I think that's great.
Yeah, I think online audiences make a lot of things worse. They have the potential to make some things better. Obviously, any minor disagreement you have with somebody, an online audience is going to amplify that a millionfold. Sometimes even if disagreements are non-existent, they'll amplify nothing into a millionfold. It makes people a lot more vitriolic, a lot more quick to anger, a lot more hyperbolic. I just described myself in 3 words on Twitter. So I mean, like, yeah, audiences can definitely amplify and cause a lot of negative stuff to happen online. Kind of piggybacking on the back of what Vosh said, I think the biggest problem with a lot of online political discourse is that the engagement starts and stops when you are on and off Twitter. That it feels like it's very hard for people to translate a lot of what they do online into some type of real political action. And I think on YouTube and on stream, I think we have probably the most engaged audiences of any media forum that exists today. More than television, more than talk radio, more than anything, our audiences will watch us for hours and hours every day, or tune into, you know, the Majority Report every single day, and they follow us on Twitter and on other social medias. And I think that that relationship, if we're going to take all the negatives of like people fighting online and the edutainment and everything else, if we're going to take all of that, we should also do some of the positives, which is mobilizing people to real-world political activism.
Yeah, so you all have been involved in these debates for a long, long time, and you have histories with other people in the space and with each other, and that can.
Hey, Carl.
I think you're talking about how that can isolate.
Alexander Rosser. How you
yet
doing?
you're all making the case that the audiences are engaged and want to get something done. So what does it take for you? What do you think the ingredients are that are necessary to still engage in this type of debates and content that you create, but also have constructive relationships to mobilize your audiences for better change?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more, that's kind of a question about like our personal psychology a little bit there. So, I mean, my therapist should be watching this, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I've had very few friends in the political, like, online space. I have a few. Most of my social life is with like my friends from high school and college. And so I'm able to at least have like an emotional outlet outside of anything that has to do with work, right? Where I can stand for what I believe in. I can do the best that I can to advocate for the policies that I believe in, and it doesn't become as personal, hopefully, for me. But I mean, it's an ongoing, you know, thing you battle with, obviously.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's difficult all around, especially because when you're live streaming, you generally aren't going off a script, so there's a lot of like interplay there, both with perceived authenticity from the audience, and on your side, you're kind of, I mean, not to say that every live streamer is just like an open book or whatever, but there's definitely more of that there, I feel. I think that people want to go out and canvass and phone bank. I think people that want to feel productive. I think that it seems as though there are barriers. I know that a lot of my audience is relatively young and probably doesn't have that much experience with like organized political action, which means that to them, going to a town hall or you know, running for city council or whatever, it's like an abstract, unthinkable, you know, it's archaic. It doesn't feel like something they have access to, when of course in reality they do. I told this anecdote quite recently, but it was recently found, I think there was just some look at it, but about 60% of the book bans in this country, you know, like some folks getting mad there was a gay kid in a book in a high school somewhere. I mean, about 60% of those done by 11 people. Just 11 people. They don't live in the county. They just call around. They're highly dedicated. They make significant changes. If you can sell people on the potential and the possibilities and actually going out there and doing something, absolutely critical. Also, it's a good social opportunity. Nobody goes outside anymore. Nobody makes friends. Everyone feels empty. You know, go on out there. I get a lot of emails from people saying they made some new friends while canvassing. That's sweet. I love that for them.
That's good advice, and I just want to piggyback on that because it is a good point. When you bring up those school boards, why the right this is where the left can learn a lesson here, why they're so effective at essentially having a very high floor door for political engagement with their base is that they activate people on such visceral local levels. If you're going to your school board meeting to yell about genderqueer being in the library at your school and you're running for your school board, you're voting Republican in state races, you're voting Republican in federal races, you're organizing. Like, they understand how to make the politics so personal that in the end, like, your crazy uncle is screaming at a teacher or a superintendent as they drive out of the parking lot, right? Because they become so radicalized by what the Rights Project is. The left doesn't have like reactionary impulses that they can instill in their base to do the same thing.
Sorry.
But that is something that we can improve on when you make politics personal to people's lives. They're much more likely to be activated in a variety of different ways. So in terms of my advice or something I'd like to see, that's something I think we share, Vosh.
I feel like it is astounding to me to think that the left doesn't produce that type of vitriolic reactionary behavior when we just came off of the largest riots in the history of like the entire United States with the whole BLM stuff.
Riots.
To say that we can't activate people on a local level is astounding to me. I think we absolutely did activate people on a local level. But the problem was that the influencers and the leaders in charge, instead of pointing towards good policy decisions, I think when it comes to being an influencer, being a voice, being a speaker, sometimes it becomes more of an exercise in ego, and then all the horrible things that come along with that: virtue signaling, infighting, excising people that we don't like, standing in front of big crowds, collecting a lot of money and doing nothing. We get all these people together, we get them riled up, we get them rioting, but then what are the policy aims behind it? Like, we have the same problem with Occupy Wall Street. What were the policy aims with that? There was nothing. Like, corporations aren't people in what, a tax sense? Like, it didn't even make sense. You know, and the same thing with the BLM stuff. Like, what were the policy goals after that? Some people, sad enough, actually tried to fight with certain policy goals. I remember 8 Can't Wait was one of those, and so many people on the left made fun of those people. They were like, oh, this 8 Can't Wait isn't blah, blah, blah. We need to abolish the police. We need to defund the police. Every place where they tried that, it basically failed, and everything was reverted, like, in a year or two. I think that the left can activate people on a local level. I think they've done it. We all just watched them do it for, an entire season of rioting. I think the problem is we just don't point at effective
season
policy
of
goals,
rioting.
because I think really it relates back to the first question. It feels like sometimes when I look at people on the left that do online politics, it feels like it's an exercise in ego flexing and financial furthering and these types of like clout building activities, rather than what are the things that I can do to activate my audience to go to a local election and vote. Being anti-electoralism is not going to get your people to show up at the polls. Or what are some actionable policies that I can get my people to support, like banning trans books at a library? That's a lot easier to do than saying we need to usher in the new era of anti-capitalism, or we're not going to do anything until we have it's not even 15 an hour now, it's like 20 or 25 an hour that people push for. I feel like we're just so bad at having realistic aims for our policies, and then we're so bad at activating people on an electoral sense, because every single problem that we talk about is like the entire world. Like, if you look at the right, you look at people like Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson, what do they say? Go to the gym, clean your room, be misogynistic, okay? These are things that any young man can do, okay? Very easy, you can implement these in every single part of your life. And then what are people on the left saying? Well, we have to fight against white supremacy, capitalism, and whatever other like grand narrative, anti-LGBT, like it's always these grand external problems.
What is he talking about? Conservatives do that too. With like gender ideology or the concept of the concept of critical race theory, or they come up with these boogeymen. The difference between the right and the left is that when the left talks about these, grand struggles, they're accurately diagnosing the problem.
That an individual can take absolutely no control of their life over. And I think that we need to do a better job at aiming people in realistic directions towards good evidence-backed policies.
Yeah, I think that it's an uphill walk towards that. I think it's easier when you're on the right, because the entire COVID pandemic situation can be boiled down to, execute Dr. Fauci. Like that's legitimately touted as some kind of like end goal for a lot of conservative commentators, or, arrest him or throw away the key. Whereas obviously any critical analysis of the situation, and the actors involved is so complicated that no single individual could probably wrap their head around the whole thing. The trick is, and I agree with that fundamentally, about centering goals and being productive, because, you know, some people have had criticisms of capitalism. I've heard rumors of this. But it is true that shouting that at folks doesn't give them much in the way of specific instruction. You know, there are ways you can hit on concrete points, but they rarely feel as satisfying. And there's
well, keep in mind, Punky Gal, this isn't a socialist endeavor. This is an endeavor to turn out, you know, 1.2 million people potentially to volunteer in their local, state, and national elections to on behalf of like progressive candidates, or at the very least the most progressive candidate available in their jurisdiction. You know, like this isn't like the socialist symposium. You know, Vosh is a socialist. Maybe Emma might be a socialist, but I don't know that, like, Destiny's not a socialist, clearly. Like, again, the entire point of this is to mobilize power on behalf of, at the very least, non-fascist politicians.
There's something about the, I don't know if it's like a utopian impulse or something, but there is something. The right-wingers, in many cases it seems, they will hyper-fixate on very local, very specific stuff. Here is a teacher, they say, who wore a rainbow shirt to class, you know? And people get worked up for this, you know? They're screaming in the comment section. And this, in many cases, leads to harassment, doxing threats, bomb threats, you know, whatever else. This is content for them, but it's so specific. And then you go over on the left, and it's, you know, here's video essay number 73 on, like, the history of Spanish anarchism and the actual reason why we can't decommodify housing. And it's good, I'll watch it, but it's not the same kind of content, and it doesn't lead to the same kinds of, well, behavior.
Well, I agree with you.
God. That's ultimately what it is.
Would it not frustrate?
Hey. So anyway, I hope you guys will stick around with me, because I am genuine. From the beginning, I've said we're gonna be China. I don't think it can be blamed on laziness. Like, was the segment I just did, laziness is a byproduct of having given up. Echo Chamber 2? Yeah, he does tend to... China. Deeply, deeply weird. China. And, I don't know, like, that's deeply, deeply weird. Fundamentally what it is. I think laziness is a byproduct of having given up. His line of reasoning.
Ask you and
Cornel West's campaign, proposing running as a Democrat. About that, GG, I appreciate it. We do love Banuis here. Aww, Winby, yeah. Additionally, we got to talk about this real quick. Listen real quick, all right? Washington Post over, all right? Washington Post over here. Talk about this real quick, all right? God, I look shit. we got to talk about this real quick, all right? In your local area. Himself and his audience that they do not have the power to affect change, and that is just a defeatist attitude. Right now, I have no Spitfire, idea how that
no.
will work. Territory. For press. Chat patient with me. Chat.
Was standing, Democrats took
to mount a challenge to Biden.
Right? What is
we're going to be make election, which would make more sense. Third party candidate. Also, Benui, are you Velmob? Kyrie, thank you for gifting a sub. Because I think what he was proposing was not running as a third party candidate. I think he was proposing running as a Democrat in the primary, which would make more sense, but like I don't see that being effective either, you know? There we go. Got those 2 segments from the stream the other day, where Cenk Uygur announced that he was maybe going to run for president in 2024, which, goddamn, still don't know what to make of that. I think Brianna Wu got COVID, Paladin. That seems to be the scuttlebutt.
I think that it's a little inherent to the left, right? But at the same time, I think we can draw a distinction between the left in that way and the Democratic Party. And like, despite Biden's low approval.
Come on.
Ratings right now. It's something very unique that we're seeing. It's not tethered to how Democrats are doing in special elections or how they did in the midterms where the Democrats overperformed. It's a very interesting thing because normally if a president had that low approval ratings, the Democrats should have gotten smacked in the 2022 midterms, and they didn't. And why is that? Negative partisanship right now against Republicans.
Economy sucks thanks to Biden. I mean, it could be doing a lot worse, but yeah, could also be doing a lot better. Again, you're not going to get me to defend Joe Biden. I dislike him.
Is really damn high. People associate them with Trump, they associate them with chaos, and most crucially, they associate them with being the party that took away abortion rights. So when talking about issues that are as personal and as poignant for people in their own individual lives, abortion is number 1. And I think finally some Democratic pollsters and consultants are getting the memo there, and 24 will be the election about abortion, and that's a glimmer of hope, at least for me, from an electoral perspective, that making that issue more personal could translate positively to polling.
So you all are drawing,
for the polling booths, I should say.
So you all are drawing a really strong distinction between organizing in the social space and organizing in the electoral space, and how a lot of people are being drawn to the anti-electoral fringes, and both on the right, and then we also have a lot of tankies that are coming up on the.
Okay, this isn't really a leftist audio problem, but someone's nose is whistling into the mic, and it's awful. I hate it. It's like triggering me fiercely.
Left, and so how do you, as a content creator who's in this space, focus your audiences on remaining hopeful about electoral politics in the face of that?
I think that there's always going to be a distinction between these spaces, the social and the political, purely because people are looking for different things. People wake up in the morning and they want to talk to a friend. They don't wake up and I want to canvas. They have some stuff, but rewarding.
I'll be right back. Sorry, I need to wet my makeup ball. It is a lot of work, Somniostatic, but once you get used to it, you know how to, you know what your like small, medium, and large makeups are. You know which routines take the longest.
With regards to like how to control these, I think that
I forgot one thing.
things tilt in the wrong direction if you overemphasize the value of these. I think that the Democrats, like the institutional Democratic Party, has done a pretty poor job of cultural capture. I think that most of the cultural capture on the left is kind of this decentralized, like artists and community leaders that have kind of built an orbit around them, and the Dems themselves just
yeah. Why? Why is it like this? Come on. You can do it. What if we just put it on 360p? Are you going to be happier if it's not 60 frames per second? It's effin' and jeffin' over here. Well, how are you all doing? Okay. Alternatively, is it just like Chrome being weird? I bet it's just Chrome being weird. Here, you know what? You know what? We're gonna do something drastic. Close all windows. Boom 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 boom. Ba da 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 do da 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 do 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 do. Do 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 do.
overemphasize the value of the.
Yep, it was just Google Chrome being weird. Cool. Cool. Thanks, Chrome.
I think that the Democrats, like the institutional Democratic Party, has done a pretty poor job of cultural capture. I think that most of the cultural capture on the left is kind of this decentralized, like artists and community leaders that have kind of built an orbit around them, and the Dems themselves just exist. Whereas the Republicans, it feels, have a fairly strong control over the shape that their associated spaces take. But on the other side of things, right, in terms of direct political action, you have an entirely different set of impulses. How do you get people to actually go out there and work? If you overemphasize the social, people treat it all like it's social. And all of a sudden, you don't want to do any electoral work because you don't personally like all the people involved in a given group. I see this at the DSA all the time. Yeah, I'll complain. I heard that one DSA recruiter was actually asking potential joiners whether or not they liked me as a disqualifying question. Now, I'm permitted to complain about that. Very silly. I'm slightly flattered, but altogether, I think that's perfectly endemic of the issue, right? Like, here's this social attribute. Are you worthy to be a political accomplice? If we can do a better job of cutting that and splitting that, I think that it would be infinitely easier to mobilize people towards electoralism without making them feel like they're slaves to Joe Biden, and we could get a lot more work done.
I think the balance is way too far on the activism side right now. I think people need to understand that if you don't vote, you don't matter. If you do not go out and actually vote at the end of the day for a politician, all of the tweets, all of the Facebook posts, all of the marches and the riots and the hanging out with the friends and whatever, none of that matters. At the end of the day, more than appealing to a lobbyist, more than getting likes on a tweet, more than anything else, what a politician wants is to get reelected.
Foggy Roses, thank you for subscribing.
Loudest, most retweeted person on the entire internet, but if at the end of the day you or your group of friends or your generation or your particular block of voters doesn't show up to the polls, then at the end of the day a politician is not crafting policies for you, and they shouldn't be. The goal of any politician is to appease their constituents and fight for re-election, and the way that they fight for re-election is by appeasing the voters that are actually showing up and going to the polls. So when you look around the United States and you're like, why do we still have 3-strike laws? Or why do we have cops busting down on marijuana so much? Or why is all this such bullshit? And then you go to the polls and you see a whole bunch of 75-year-old affluent white people. Oh, well, it's probably because they don't really care too much about what goes on in our jails because they're not getting arrested. That's just not in their purview. That's not part of their lives. So I agree that both sides are important. It's not enough just to vote. If you want to be politically active, then there is a value to the activism. There is a value to the retweets. There is a value to the YouTube videos. There's a value to everything that we participate in our day-to-day life as like political peoples. But if it's not connected at the end of the day to some sort of voting action, no amount of retweets are ever bringing back Roe v. Wade. Putting Trump in the White House is what got rid of it.
Yeah, I'll say that I think it's a little more complicated just because, yes, everybody should vote. And that is important, and vote Democrat. Because the other side, in primaries...
Be specific.
In primaries, vote for the more, progressive person, and then when it comes time, vote Democrat. But, we do see the limits sometimes of what politicians will respond to, and a lot of that has to do with interest groups. The biggest example is comprehensive gun control in this country. There's not an issue that any of us can all agree on in the United States of America, but universal background checks, things like that, it's like 92%. Bans on assault weapons is up there in the high 80s and things like that. And the thing is that those people are voting, right? And a lot of them are suburbanite moms, and that's a coveted group that politicians do covet and want to respond to. The problem in those instances, though, is that there are lobbying groups, there is corruption involved, and so it's not necessarily as, unfortunately in this country, we don't live in a direct democracy in the way that we should. Politicians have other people that they answer to, and that is a part of the broader fight against runaway neoliberal capitalism, because it's important to cut down on the ability for industry to dominate politics in that way, so our democracy is just even a fraction more representative.
I think that when people talk about the special interest groups and the lobbying, I think that there are edge issues where they can have a big impact on. But when we talk about issues like gun control, I see this happen all the time when people talk about the polling data. People will say things like, there's 92% for this particular thing. There's never 92% for support for anything in this country. That is absolutely not true. I think what happens is people will poll on a very broad issue like universal background checks. But then when you actually get into the weeds...
Man, what a great coming together panel this is.
of what does that mean? Well, if you've ever had an antidepressant, are you forbidden from ever buying a gun? If you've ever had a certain type of criminal charge, or the red flag laws, or any of these other types of ways that you could potentially prohibit somebody from having a gun, you see support for those particular policies absolutely fall off a cliff. The exact same thing happened when we talked so much several years ago about universal health care, where if you polled people and you asked them, would you support the United States government providing every citizen with some form of free health care? I think that polled, I want to say, north of 80%. But when you replace that same question with, would you support the United States government replacing all private health care with their own, the support for that dropped to around 25%. And I think that sometimes we because we don't get very granular with our questions, we kind of delude ourselves into this world where we think there's broad American consensus around.
Well, wait, but that's just a matter of formulating the question. It's not a matter of what the actual policy is. It's how you frame the policy. You're just making the argument that, like, framing the question matters. Which, yeah, of course, obviously.
On these certain political opinions, and it's not happening. Why? And then we look and we blame the lobbyists or the special interest groups. But the reality is it's very rare that we have...
That's because the lobbying and the special interest groups know how to phrase questions in ways that are going to get polling on their side. So they ask things in deliberately deceptive ways so that they can release polling data indicating that, oh, look, no, people don't actually want universal health care because they phrased it deceptively. Like, that's all you're pointing out here. This is infuriating, honestly.
Broad consensus around anything today because we're so divided. I think that we look at Congress and we look at how ineffective they are, and we look at all the divides in this country and we say, like, well, we want to blame capitalism, we want to blame neoliberalism, we want to blame Elon Musk or Jordan Peterson, but the reality is we are just historically incredibly divided right now, and I think that our government is accurately representing those divisions in our communities.
I think that there's some nuance to this. Consistently, we see that people tend to be a little bit more leftward when it comes to referendums than the politicians they actually vote for. Like in Kansas, for instance, the referendum to change their state constitution to allow for a ban on abortion did not pass, not even close, despite it being Kansas, full of folks who voted for Donald Trump, who pledged he would get rid of Roe v. Wade. I think that it's really difficult to sort of bridge that gap. The Democrats are proportionally unpopular considering their policies. And a lot of that has to do with cultural capture. I think a lot of it also has to do with capital. I think there's an excellent John Oliver segment on how a ton of local news in America is basically just all owned by the same company, and they reliably repeat, skewed talking points in a way that sometimes isn't entirely factually inaccurate, but definitely distorts the information. We see them in, national level too. CNN recently had a CEO change who just said he wanted to bring more right-leaning content into the network in order to sort of broaden the appeal. And unfortunately, judging by the articles that were written after that I read, broadening the network seemed to mean lying more, or at least being more wrong in implication. It's tough, right? Like, how do you actually get through all that? But if there's anything we can agree on, and I hope we do, because we're here with the fine folks of Progressive Victory, is that none of this matters if you don't vote. It is like having a nice classic car and then not changing the oil, wheels, or brakes when you need to. It is fundamental. It is the bedrock of everything you do on top of it. The most effective protests in the world would not do anything if they were supervised by far-right politicians. They would just kill or arrest all the people who did it. Stonewall, kill or arrest. Black Lives Matter, kill or arrest. Civil rights movement, kill or arrest. You need to have the right people in office, even for radical change to take effect, unless you're speaking to some kind of genuine revolutionary sentiment, which, good luck, I guess. It doesn't really seem to be the environment we live in right now. Doesn't seem to be a realistic venue for change at this time. I really think we should focus on the avenues we have before us.
Yeah, just to add something really quickly to that. One, I said this yesterday in our conversation, I believe at this point with Ro Khanna. When you're voting for Joe Biden, you're not voting for, like who you want to marry. This isn't The Bachelor. You're not voting, it's not a talent contest well, I know. It's not a personality contest. You're voting for the coalition he's going to bring into office, like Lena Khan, for example, one of the best FTC chairs that we've had in a really long time. Other cabinet officials who are going to make change in ways that you don't really see immediately, but that are important structurally, because when Republicans come in, they destroy, they gut, and it's much easier to destroy than it is to build back. And just to add to Vosh's point earlier, there are, like, it's interesting. for people that want to learn about politics, they're polling, and I guess this is also Destiny's point too. The polling on issues in a vacuum doesn't necessarily matter, because people can agree on things in polls, but there's a difference between what people agree on and what motivates them to vote. Like, for example, polling on stuff like trans issues, it's muddled, and sometimes, honestly, it's a little bit like the left is in the minority when you look at some of those polls. But we saw in the 2022 midterms that the people that ran on transphobia basically universally lost, because while people may say in a poll, like, I don't really want, a trans person in my girls' track meet, right? Are they going to go out and vote on that? Not really. And there's no evidence that's shown that. And so that's also why I don't even think it's a problem to back up trans people very vociferously, because I don't really think it has any electoral consequences, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think you all are bringing up some good points. Destiny, you brought up just how divided the country feels right now, and there's divisions that we all have been talking about on stage that are within the current Democratic Party coalition and without. The Republicans are setting a really good example right now of how the divisions are on full display over there, and they're so divided they can't even govern among themselves right now. But the winners of electoral politics, I think, as you said, Destiny, are the ones who actually vote and are able to get a coherent group together that actually are willing to vote and actually do the outreach. And so what is it that you are looking for in 2024 to make sure that you are directing your audiences in the way that is going to be productive for creating that coalition, creating that coherent group that's actually going to be the winners, as opposed to the divided losers?
I think it's important to understand at the end of the day what your goals are. If your goal is to just grow an audience or make a lot of money or grow your clout online, that's one thing. If your goal is to effect some positive political change, that's another. And to accomplish that effective political change, you have to be willing to work with other people and to have alliances. You have to be able to look at a person who disagrees with you on an aspect of white supremacy and not just label them racist. You have to be able to look at somebody who might disagree with you about desisters and not just label them transphobic. You have to be able to look at people that have slightly differing political opinions with you and not write them off as being, normatively just as bad as the entire opposite end of the political spectrum. So,
well, wait a minute. You can still work together on shared political goals with people you think are racist or transphobic, etc. Obviously, they're not going to be on issues of race or trans people, but like, you might share like universal healthcare goals with people like that. And if you work with them on just that one thing, you should be able to set aside the other issues to be able to work with them on that thing. God. Destiny is a transphobic racist, though? Exactly. And you know what? We're still going to be working, my community, still going to be working with Progressive Victory. And some of you guys might work side by side with people from Destiny's community in order to get more progressives elected and to stop the march of fascism in this country. And that is good, actually. That is a good thing. But, like, does that mean you have to, like, just shut up and not call, like, a transphobe? No. You don't have to do that. You don't have to like the people you work with on, to better our shared political reality.
So, I mean, like, generally, I try my best, obviously. Nobody's perfect, least of all me. But, I mean, like, I try when I'm reviewing other people's content to, be aware of, like, hey, we might disagree on this, but we've got, like, the same political ends. Or, hey, we disagree on this, but at the end of the day, remember who you're supposed to vote for. Or, I might not like this guy's opinion on these things, but we align with most things. I think that's probably been my biggest disappointing thing about most of the kind of, like, online political left, is you can take a group of people, we had, like, OkCupid.
I hate him so much. I hate him so much. I hate him so much.
Political profiles. I think we'd be like 80% plus like lined up on most of our positions.
This dude's like, whoa, calling people racist, that's a little bit too far. Meanwhile, like, you can look through his like entire like streaming career and find like instances of him like telling women that they deserve to be raped and shit. Like, okay, bud. Okay.
But we fight like we're part of like former Yugoslavian nations, like trying to genocide each other. Like it's absolutely insane how similar some of the political beliefs could be, especially compared to our opposites, and then how vitriolic and deep the fighting is. Although, to be fair, without getting too deep into it, there are reasons why. There are like psychological reasons why it hurts so much to disagree with somebody who's closer to you than farther from you. One of many reasons being that if a conservative walks up to you and a conservative says like, oh, you're a insert whatever, conservative insult against you, it doesn't really hurt because you don't really care what their opinion is of you. Like if you call me, this is being broadcast. I'm not in broadcast mode right now. There's a lot of bad things conservatives like to call you, okay? But like at the end of the day, I don't really care what a conservative calls me. But somebody on the left calls me like racist or transphobic or whatever. These are things that in my mind, I don't view myself that way. A conservative insulting me because we're diametrically opposed on our beliefs is fine. I'll even laugh about it. I don't care. But when somebody that's supposed to be kind of in a political alliance with me is saying that I'm completely different, yeah, I think that those types of insults hurt a lot more. And I think that's why the infighting happens so much. On the left and the right, it does as well online.
Yeah, this is a table of proud Litcucks, okay? Can't take that from us. No, I think that it also speaks to the value of sort of multi-tiered organizations. It's pretty difficult, I think, for folks who interpersonally don't get along with each other to politically, work together just for purely social reasons, It's a matter of willpower. Progressive Victory makes it pretty easy for me to, for example, throw members of my audience at them. And I know that other folks are going there who maybe don't like them or me or whatever, but at least from what I've heard from the folks at Progressive Victory, it don't matter. When they're actually canvassing, phone banking or whatever, they're united in purpose. It works out great. Now, obviously, left infighting, I mean, everyone's experienced it if they've been in the left for any length of time. You see what it looks like. You know how vitriolic it can get. If you have participated in it to any extent, which I imagine a lot of us have, it can go so wrong so quickly. It's very bitter infighting and very purposeless too. Look, we can't fix people's brains, really. We can't socially correct everyone on the left magically, as nice as that would be. I think we can try to build ancillary spaces and communities, and we can try to shape our own communities to make them, if not perfect on this, at the very least conditionally productive. And conditional productivity, I'll tell you, that's a lot better than most live streamers and YouTubers can do. That's a high bar, all right, for that particular space. I strongly encourage and invite anyone who does political YouTubing or live streaming to give it a shot, to expand outside the bounds of their audience, to try working with people with whom they don't necessarily agree. Not everyone, you're gonna have standards or boundaries, but we don't want to be insular because that's how we lose and they win.
Yeah, I guess I'm struck by I feel as if we really just don't matter that much. As YouTube personalities or Twitch personalities, I think it's just we have to be vessels to get people politically organized. And at least how I feel is the guests that I have on my show. When we have on somebody who works in I don't know, like Astra Taylor, for example, we have on regularly with the Debt Collective. She is actively making change, working with the Biden administration to try to get student debt canceled. And that original cancellation that he did, that eventually the Supreme Court got overturned, that's a direct result of what they did, what the Debt Collective and Astra Taylor did. Like that's, I guess, what I view my role as, is using the fact that some people like to hear my voice or hear me talk or watch our show as a way to platform other people who are making active change in society, and getting those organizations, Progressive Victory as well, to a place where they have relative prominence, given the small audience that I have, the small impact that I can make on the world in however long I am on this earth. That's what I see as the more productive way to conduct an online media leftist space.
I think, just as a quick comment, I feel like we do matter. I think we matter quite a bit. I think more than we give ourselves credit for. Like, you look at somebody like Donald Trump. Donald Trump was a billionaire, one of the wealthiest people on the planet. He still wanted more attention. He wanted to be president. He does everything for attention. You look at somebody like Andrew Tate, who most likely ran a sex trafficking ring for years and years, and it wasn't enough to have the tens of millions of dollars of Bugattis. He wanted to be a TikTok influencer. I think that at the end of the day, money buys power and influence, and people that have money eventually seek that influence. That's something that we found a way in the YouTube world to short circuit. We have that. We have that influence.
Hey, Sophie
and I think for as
Inertia.
much as we care about people on the ground doing real work, so many of these people would kill if they could have even 1/10 of the voice that we have in terms of directing our audiences towards those types of real world causes. I think one of the biggest kind of gravest sins that we've made kind of in liberal or left-leaning media over the past few decades has probably been Jon Stewart religiously adhering to this idea that I'm not here to inform people, I'm not here to educate people, I just do a political funny show that happens after, Muppets that crank calls on phones. He used to repeat that line so many times, and I used to think for so long, like, it's true, why do people take Jon Stewart seriously? Like, he's just a comedian guy. Why are you so mad that he's not pressing politicians or being more serious about his job? He's literally on Comedy Central. But then I look back and I
Is
think,
that Destiny?
how many
Yeah.
millennials' sole source of political education came from The Daily Show? How many?
I don't know what I am label-wise. Until earlier this year, I was a filthy liberal. It's okay. Most people are liberal. It's a perfectly fine starting point, Banui. Honestly, the only difference between a liberal and a leftist, generally speaking, is a leftist will want workers to have, control their workplaces. And I don't know. If you think that that's what people should do, then hey, you're a leftist, and you can work your way from there. What the actual fuck is Destiny talking about here? I genuinely have no idea. He's basically trying to blame Jon Stewart for being a comedian instead of pushing for social change using his comedy platform, which is weird because Jon Stewart has basically dedicated his entire life, over the last 15 years, to getting shit done.
People ask me why I BWA. It's because I can do one thing, but Jack can convince dozens or hundreds of people to mobilize for change. It creates a great noise out of my single small instrument. BWA.
Paladin, thank you very much for the $25 dono. That's both very generous and very kind words. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jon Stewart is the reason 9/11 victims got healthcare. What? This Juan, thank you for gifting a sub to VCCTV. That's very kind of you.
How many of you guys watched a lot of The Daily Show? I don't know what the age is. Okay. It's as silly as it is, as much as I call it edutainment, it's really important. We shape a lot of people's lives. We shape a lot of people's minds. We aim a lot of them in certain political ways. I think it's important that, I agree that at the end of the day, we're just talkers. But I mean, I don't want to make a Hitler analogy with Wash up here, but at the end of the day, talking is a really important thing. You influence, you capture people's ears, hearts, minds, and you aim them in a certain political way. And I think that to do that in a responsible and effective way is probably one of the most important things that anybody can do in the world, especially an influencer.
Yeah. So
I aspire to your level of confidence, Destiny. Truly.
So I agree that.
Man, this is such a tentative panel. Oh my goodness.
That the microphones you all hold are important, and at Progressive Victory, we're taking people from the streaming audience that are directed at us and mobilizing them for change. And it's been a great ride. We're doing it so far, and we have big plans for 2024. If you want to get involved, you can go to progress.win and sign up. Jump into our Discord. We have a couple questions here, a couple minutes for questions. If anyone wants to take audience questions. Oh, we have audience questions that have been collected. Oh, never mind. Okay, one more thing. Okay, before we get to questions, I just want to say one more time, thank you to Brianna Wu, who's sick right now and is just basically assembled this panel you see before you and has been such a moving force in organizing all the events that we're doing. And I'm so happy and proud to be working with her. I want to thank all the other influencers we have in the audience, and especially Kyla Turner for helping us put together and research these the questions that we asked these panelists today. And
this was unexpectedly rough, but I think overall it went well. Like, I don't know why Destiny was being so antagonistic throughout this entire panel. It wasn't supposed to be a debate. But I think overall it went well. About as well as it probably could have.
And I really want to thank all the audience members for being here. All right, let's yeah.
Clap, 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 clap.
Let's take a couple minutes of audience questions. Huh?
While they sort this out, I'm going to wash my hands real quick.
Hello.
Hello.
Howdy.
My name is Brendan, and I have one thing. I already talked to Vosh and Emma offline, but I have a thing for you this week. I just want to let you know that you were my first. You were my first foray into this strange world of lefty politics. Before you, I loved the wit of Change My Mind and Ben Shapiro's on content.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, my poor husband in 2015 had to deal with it. You're in this while simultaneously advocating for a better world helped to change my mind drastically. And you were on the ground work in Omaha, inspired me to volunteer at my local Democrat for back when I lived in the Panhandle of Florida and get involved a lot more at the ground level. So, Bob and Emma, I've already talked to you. Thank you so much. But Destiny, thank you for being an inspiration for the real work you've done in everything politically.
Thank you very much.
Banui, congrats on escaping the tanky vortex.
What responsibility, if any, do you have as content creators in promoting more local politics in your streams and local involvement in more direct ways and examples? And do you think a large focus on national issues on your streams and content hurts local involvement by your audiences?
Certainly. Like, I do think that. And we try our best, right, to highlight issues, say, the Ohio ballot referendum vote, right, that happened a few weeks ago, or other smaller special elections. We'll try to highlight those, but for the most part, it is hard, right? It's hard to get local, especially because we have a national audience, and so we get complaints, for example, since we're in Brooklyn, like, we have focused a probably disproportionate amount on New York State politics compared to other states. So it is a balance, right? But I think, directing people to say their local DSA chapter or something like that is a way to at least augment that just a little bit.
Yeah, I think at the local level, it's mostly about process rather than specific cases. Sometimes there's a local thing you can point at. It's real important. But of course, with an international audience, you focus international, then it's the national, and then it's the state, and then it's the city. And it can be done, but it's tough. So I think it's also important to promote, like, general practices. Maybe you're not there for every important local election, but you can say, hey, regardless of where you live, this is how you really annoy a city councilman. And you do that enough times, and you might actually change something.
Last question, folks.
Yeah, I would agree with everything they said. Like, showing people that you can do local action is really important. Showing local action on your own is important, but as was also said, we do national or international news coverage, so it's really hard as a streamer or YouTuber to pinpoint on that local action.
Hello. So I know that progressive movement is for the progressive organization, right? Progressive, I'm sorry. They're looking for local electors to move forward and do things, and I know that the school board is one of the most local elections that you can get into. What are sort of progressive policies that you're looking for electors to hold if you're trying to help them back, or trying to identify electors to move forward in school board?
In school board elections?
Yeah.
I think that's a really great point, a really great question, honestly, because the right is, I gave that example earlier, right? The right's incredibly united around censorship and on essentially doxing and outing teachers if they're LGBTQ. So be the opposite of that. Be clear-eyed and essentially saying, no censorship. Sexual education for children is the best way to protect them from being molested or abused in certain ways. Being clear about that, promoting policies and being militant, saying, I'm the one protecting children, you're the one leaving them susceptible to potentially being abused with this censorship of sexual education. That is, I would say, where I would start in terms of a platform on the school board election. That if you want to get involved locally, I think that's a great way to get involved.
Also, piggybacking off of that, I don't know if it's the school board themselves that does it or if it comes from higher up, but man, lunches for kids is like one of the most no-brainer policies I've ever heard of in my entire life. Why would you want kids at school to be hungry? It's also like one of the few things that, that and I think air conditioning in hot areas that has like quite a bit of data that supports that these are things that are just universally better for kids. So people that support making your schools like temperature-wise hospitable for the children and then providing food for children are two of the most important things I think that you can have for kids.
I agree with them.
Yes, supporting teachers unions. You're not just pro-labor if you don't like teachers unions. Go on, sorry.
No, I just want to close the panel, so that was a welcome comment. Thank you so much everyone for coming. Thank you to the participants for coming here and being here today. We're so
Oh man, it would have been great if they had more question time. I don't know, it would have been nice to pick their brain.
So excited to be here with you, and thank you to VidCon for having us.
Why does it feel like the screen's about to go black and white and then like all around me our familiar faces starts playing and it slowly starts zooming in on Vosh. This was the last time he was seen before the incident. All right. Was there an incident? No. No. Well, that was really interesting. Real interesting stuff. I was hoping for a more of a solidarity type stream like panel. But I mean, I guess realistically this is closer to what the real world delivery of this panel would be. Vosh was later assassinated by a lady with red hair in a leather jumpsuit. True. I do have a leather jumpsuit. God. Actually, according to Hegel, I can't do a Slavoj Žižek. My greatest shame. Schnief. Well, let's see. I have to get going in like 10 minutes. I am gonna do the full version of the outfit that I wore the other day on stream, i.e. not in sweatpants. Should I end stream now, or do you guys want to see the full strap outfit before I leave? Full strap? You want to see the full strap? Okay. I'll leave you guys with some music while I change. Hello. Hey, Possum Shaman. Hey, Kropotkin's Loaf. Thank you. Gotta leave in about 3 minutes, but how we doing, folks? Left Party seems to only be nominally DemSoc. Yeah. Cute little ring. Thank you. Yes, it's for pulling. Doing great? Awesome. Like, I know there were problems with that panel, but and they were mainly created by Destiny, but I feel like overall, you know, I would even go like 5/6 of the panel was good. Hey, Boiled Peanuts. Swooner. It was a disaster for our great country. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, I, for one, on my end, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different segments cut. And at least in the pipeline to get onto YouTube and be monetized. For some reason, my the monetization options has me listed as very low low confidence on ad suitability. So some of the videos are having to sit in the can for a few days before they're like, "Yep, you can advertise on this." So I need to be a little bit better about not saying fuck in the first 7 seconds of a video. Apparently. Apparently, if I wait a minute into the video, I can start saying fuck again. I watched the Elon is a lightweight segment while you were getting dressed. It's so funny. It's so funny how incompetent Elon Musk is. Like, if he wasn't so powerful as a human being, he would be an excellent lolcow. I mean, he still is an excellent lolcow, but, like, unfortunately, his antics have worldwide implications. Thank you, Boiled Peanuts. My partner, while I was streaming, suggested that we go and like have a night together. So I put on my outfit. And yes, it is very bigoted towards Australians that you can't say fuck in the first 7 seconds of a YouTube video. It's true. We do love to hear your dirty mouth, though. I can't say the comment that came to my brain. Well, chat, I love you all immensely. We're gonna raid you fine folk into a Rhizome stream because Rhizome is a real rad dude. And please, even if you're watching on YouTube, go check him out, okay? He's good beans. Provides you with top-tier brain rot. Not as fine as the brain rot I provide, but top-tier brain rot. Thank you all for turning out and for supporting the stream. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button over on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And keep doing the things that help the channel, like hitting the like button and commenting on YouTube videos. It all helps quite a bit. So with that being said, y'all have a good one. Bye.